My name is Cazzie Williams. I'm a director here at Kearney within the PERLab, and we have Marcellino Gemelli here, who is the general manager of Bosch. So we're so privileged to have such an industry veteran here with us talking about AI and Mr. Gemelli. So we'll start off our questions. And one of those questions we'll start out with today is, can you tell us, what does AI mean to you?
Well, different people have different ways of defining AI. The way I see it is that AI is really a simulation of intelligence, right? And intelligence takes place in our brains. And therefore, this simulation needs to mimic the way that our brains are layered. So just like our brains have the fundamental core behavior, right? The so-called lizard brain, the ones that's most reactive, that is more algorithmic part, the if-then statement. And then you have the prefrontal cortex, that is where the imagination and the decisions and the decisions based on training occur. That is what resembles more. That resembles much more what we define today as AI.
Well, thank you for that. As we start to look at AI and looking how it's reshaping our society and showing up in many places, one of those things I'll talk about is GenAI, and just understanding a little bit more about this rage. And maybe you can help us understand how it's reshaping the business landscape and now connecting to product innovation also at the same time.
Yes, I'm from the product development. I'm from the semiconductor part of Bosch, and already today we use AI in two specific fields. One of them is in the operation of our sensors themselves. Right? The sensors are at the very edge of the compute device. They are the interface between the physical world and the digital world. So a lot of the sensor processing is done in the sensor itself, and the training of the sensor so that it connects to the wearer. Think about a wearable device, like a step counter on your wrist, right? It behaves better because it learns from you, and it's something that becomes more personal. So that's one application of AI. Sometimes we call it edge AI, and it reduces the power consumption. It reduces the latency, right? So you don't need to have the sensor connect to the central processing unit, and overall it reduces the need for bandwidth, right? For the data that needs to be transmitted. So that's one application of AI. But what's fascinating today is that we are also using AI in the design process itself. The design is a fundamental part of an innovation process. Innovation is creation, design, and deployment. And a lot of the design work is grunt work that sometimes it's mundane tasks that need to be repeated multiple times in order to achieve the desired result. Now, AI can all of a sudden decrease the time that it takes for this, I would say, more mundane and time-consuming work, and allow the designers to focus on the creation part and the deployment. So what's interesting is that the design phase used to be on my critical path, and now with the acceleration of this design phase, I'm starting to see other elements coming up in the critical path because the design cycle is now so much faster.
Well, thank you for that. Now, you talk about design cycles and critical paths. Can you talk a little bit more in detail of what are some of those new elements of critical paths that are now of your concern as a leader? And then what type of resources are you now engaging from a human aspect to make sure you're still successful while using AI?
Yeah, so it is important that the human is always in the loop, right? That kind of overlooks the whole process that we just talked about, right? Creation, design, and deployment. But what is the opportunity here is the ability to implement new ways of designing and taking it and overcoming the limitations that we see today with staffing. Right? It is becoming increasingly hard to find good engineers in the right places at the right time to staff the design team. Now, so if some of these more mundane and time-consuming tasks can be replaced by a machine, all of a sudden I need fewer, more experienced people in my team that can do what was previously done by a larger team. Now, this opens up other opportunities to develop experts in another field, and one of these fields is the knowledge of how to bring these tools into the development flow. You see, there is one fundamental difficulty in bringing AI tools inside a large corporation like Bosch, but many companies are facing a similar problem. Bringing a new piece of software inside the firewall that is able to act on data that is proprietary, confidential, or even company secret is extremely difficult, right? There is a big vetting process. You need to make sure that whatever AI is coming in is not going to be trained on what you consider proprietary and then take it to competitors or to the open market. So that vetting process is something that we all need to learn, and that is where the opportunities for new kind of jobs can emerge.
Thank you for that. So does that mean also that, within this process and with the AI tools that you're bringing in, is cybersecurity becoming increasingly a field of resources that you need to keep on your team personally?
Yes, cybersecurity, procurement, the vetting of the results, of the quality of the results. In order to rely on the output data, you still need to be an expert of what the process was initially. So the challenge there is, how do you make sure that the experts are being developed when the experts are no longer the ones that are doing this job in the first place?
Well, thank you for that. So still talking about that, and you talked about some of the mundane activity. Now that you have AI, still, how are the experts still making sure they're aware of understanding those mundane tasks that they may not do anymore?
Well, therein lies the challenge, right? So somehow, just like today, you learn to use a calculator by first learning how to do shorthand math, right? You still somehow need to able to shape and train these people to understand the output of the new processes, right? Of the new algorithmic accelerators, as if they were doing it to get to a point to what they would have been doing it if they were doing it by hand. And there are some areas like analog design that are extremely difficult because the mindset of some designers is very hard to switch.
Thank you for that. So let's talk about a couple things. We're going along this AI journey, and I know that you also talked about your journey and from beginning of almost 30 years ago when you were doing your PhD thesis and looking at how the evolution of certain points will now lead into AI today. As you look at that journey from 30 years ago to now, and as we look at how AI continues to improve from what we saw from the first aspects of looking at things like Watson when that first came around, do you have any stories of success along your journey where you've seen good opportunities outside of what you've talked about already in the processes where AI has contributed to product innovation, to products that we see here in the market today?
Yeah, so you cannot consider the adoption of AI as a step function, right? It's a continuum. To your point, AI has been around for a long time, right? We call them expert systems once, right? And but still, these were ways of augmenting through neuromorphic algorithms, augmenting the human abilities to design, to innovate, to process data. Now, fast forward to now, right? We are now able to design devices that can learn about the user. And learning about the user is a fundamental piece of building a product that is relatable, and relatable means empathic. And empathic means a product that you are going to like, enjoy, and use, right? So, again, if we turn it around, right? If you want to go down the path of building a trusted, personal, secure device, you need to go through the process of devising a device that learns about you and you only, so that it becomes your trusted companion. And this needs to go through a learning process, and this can only be done through a training algorithm like AI.
That's an interesting point that you make. So as we start to talk about adaptive learning, that now leads to a empathic evolution. As we think about where we are today, let's fast forward. Let's say even 5 and even 10 years from now. Where do you think we'll be when it comes to AI as it relates to adaptable learning from an empathic point of view?
Well, just like today, sensor processing, compute processing is kind of disappeared inside the devices that we carry around. Think of the smartphone, think of the wearable, think of the earbuds, right? There's a lot of processing that kind of disappears into the operation of these devices. Well, we will also have AI algorithms, and again, the large algorithmic and let's say panorama of activities that an AI bot can do. They will disappear inside the product, and we will no longer talk about AI. For us, it would be just ask a question and you will get an answer, right, from your trusted device. And of course, there is a risk that your trusted device will lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Right? And that is where we as humans need to be mindful and trained on the fact that an AI can help you with a prediction, but not an explanation. This is a fundamental part of the ethics of AI, right? If I have a device that is unable to give me an explanation on what's going on, how can I trust it? Right? And therefore, we need to have people who are, let's say, educated and in this field. There is another risk, right? The risk of just like today, there is a digital divide between the people who have compute, access to internet, and so on. There is going to be a gap between the people who have access to AI and the ones that don't. That's why it is imperative that we develop some form of universal basic compute, just like we have universal basic income.
Well, guess what? That's the end of our questions on this proportion, and thank you.